Coco Gauff calls out Australian Open broadcast for showing her smashing her racket in private moment. Coco Gauff had a frustrating go of it down under on Tuesday, and she didn't want to broadcast her emotions. But the world number 3 tennis star was caught on camera breaking her racket on Tuesday, January 27th, after she lost in the quarterfinal round of the Australian Open to Elina Svitolina in straight sets, and rued the fact that the emotional outburst was shared on television. Citing moments, the same thing happened to Arina Sabalenka. After I played her in the final of the US Open, I feel like they don't need to broadcast, Gauff, 21, said after the match. I tried to go somewhere where I thought there wasn't a camera because I don't necessarily like breaking rackets. She continued, I broke one racket at the French Open, I think, and I said I would never do it again on court because I don't feel like that's a good representation. So, yeah, maybe some conversations can be had. In the video, Gauff, clad in a bright orange tennis dress, stepped behind a low barrier and repeatedly slammed her racket into the concrete floor. The reigning French Open champ made 26 unforced errors in the match against Svitolina, and won only 2 out of 11 points on her second serve. After the match, Gauff said she sought out an off-court spot to vent her frustrations, away from her team. They're good people, she said. They don't deserve that, and I know I'm emotional. So, yeah, I just took the minute to go and do that. She added, I don't think it's a bad thing. Like I said, I don't try to do it on court in front of kids and things like that, but I do know I need to let out that emotion. Coco Gauff, privacy, pressure, and professionalism, when a private moment became a public flashpoint. On January 27, 2026, the tennis world was jolted not just by an upset on the court, but by a conversation about privacy, media boundaries, and the emotional lives of athletes. American tennis star Coco Gauff, already one of the most compelling and marketable players in the game, openly questioned the Australian Open's broadcast practices after footage of her smashing a racket following a disappointing quarterfinal loss was shown on television and online. The incident itself was straightforward in its physicality. After losing 6-1, 6-2 to Elina Svitolina in the quarterfinals at Melbourne Park, a match in which Gauff struggled with errors and serving consistency, she walked off the Rod Laver Arena court visibly frustrated. In a bid to release her emotions out of view of cameras, she sought a spot she believed would be out of public sight. Instead, she found that at the modern Australian Open there may be no real refuge from the cameras. What followed was a brief but intense verbal reaction after the match. Gauff expressed disappointment that the broadcast captured and aired footage of her smashing her racket against the concrete in a tunnel, believing she was in a private place, and then criticized the practice of showing such moments. This episode has layered significance, touching on athlete vulnerability, media spectacle, the culture of modern sports broadcasting, and the expectations placed on public figures. To fully appreciate its complexity, we must explore the context of Gauff's reaction, the media environment in which it unfolded, and the larger debate it reflects about privacy, emotion, and professionalism in athletics. The moment itself, smash, broadcast, backlash. To set the scene, Gauff, at 21 years old and currently ranked world number 3, entered the 2026 Australian Open as a favourite after winning the French Open the previous year. But a surprisingly one-sided loss to Svitolina left her frustrated and disappointed. After leaving the court, she looked for a quiet space behind the arena walls to vent. Thinking she had found a spot absent of cameras, she began smashing her racket, not in the intense, public way tennis fans might associate with on-court rage, but in a secluded area she believed was unmonitored. However, the broadcast teams behind-the-scenes cameras, now ubiquitous at major tournaments, caught the moment and soon shared it across TV feeds and social media. Footage of Gauff's emotional outburst spread rapidly, turning a deeply personal moment into a viral clip. Rather than shrug it off, Gauff openly criticized the decision to broadcast the footage. She stated she had intentionally sought somewhere where there was no camera, highlighting her desire for at least some privacy in moments of emotional intensity. Gauff likened her situation to a similar incident involving Arina Sabalenka at the 2023 US Open, where training room footage of Sabalenka smashing her racket went public, drawing its own criticism. She suggested that broadcasters and tournament organizers at Grand Slam events have conversations about where cameras should and should not capture athletes. Gauff's position was not that she regretted releasing her emotions. She explained that expressing frustration privately was a healthier alternative to lash out at her team, or letting it affect her relationships with those around her. 2. The emotional labor of elite athletes. Gauff's reaction touches on something many fans overlook. Professional athletes are also emotional human beings. The expectation that elite competitors must be composed and emotionally controlled at all times, even in moments of disappointment or pain, is unrealistic, yet pervasive. Tennis, in particular, is a sport in which emotions run high. Players are constantly in one-on-one combat, both physically and mentally, with each point ebbing and flowing in tension. Fans and broadcasters alike often relish displays of emotional release, whether it's celebrating a great shot or reacting to a tough loss, because these moments feel authentic and human. But there's a difference between emotion as entertainment and emotion as vulnerability. For Gauff, smashing a racket privately was not meant for public consumption. It was an emotional coping mechanism. Athletes use various outlets to let off steam: pacing in locker rooms, quiet breath control, talking with coaches. But a racket smash is raw, unscripted, and physical. It's a response to frustration, not a performance piece. Her point underscores a broader truth. Even elite athletes struggle with emotional labor in their profession. The constant pressure to perform, the scrutiny of millions of eyes on social media, and the expectation to be inspiring role models, all these factors shape how they experience stress and disappointment. Gauff's candid reaction and subsequent disappointment at its broadcast remind us that emotional responses are part of being human. They shouldn't always be fodder for public consumption, nor should athletes always be polished, camera-ready performers. 3. The media ecosystem. Cameras everywhere, privacy nowhere. One of the key elements of this episode is the reality that modern sporting events are covered more comprehensively and invasively than ever before. Grand Slam tournaments like the Australian Open have multiple camera angles not just for the main courts, but also for practice courts, mixed zones, gym areas, hallways, and behind-the-scenes locations. This 360-degree coverage serves a purpose.